In the first video, we talked about the issue of audience and research. In the second video, we talked about the three-stage process of writing, business writing, which can be represented by the acronym ACE: analyze, craft, edit. In the second video, we talked about the analyze stage. Now we are going to talk about the crafting stage. Till now, what we have done is we have simply used pen and paper to write a purpose statement. We know the audience for whom we are writing. We know the topic. What exactly are the facts of the case? We know the audience for whom we are writing. We know what they know, their current knowledge level, and we know that after reading this document, what is it that we want them to know, so that the gap is clear. The gap of that will be bridged through the document, and that has been written as a purpose statement. After reading this document, the audience should be able to do this. We have also handwritten the broad outline of the document. Now we will actually start typing our document, and for this we do not need to the first thing that we need to think about is we do not need to make it the final version. It is neither the final version, not even a good version, just right. So we need to focus on this thing, that we will just start writing. This is not the final document that is coming, that is going to your audience. So don't worry, don't let the writer's block come in the way. Just start writing. How do you start writing? Open your Word document. You have already written the I would say you've already written the purpose statement. With pen and with pen, transcribe that onto the Word document. That becomes the first sentence. Then you have the broad structure, the broad sections of the document that you have already written with pen on a paper. Transcribe that. That becomes the whole skeletal structure. You know where the relevant facts will go. Put those facts there. Right now, if you will come across several details that, okay, this is missing, or this fact needs to be explained in this manner, and it needs to be connected to this particular fact, do not worry about all that. Simply keep writing whatever comes to your mind, but do not stop to do research or anything else. If there is anything important, just highlight or comment. Highlight that a particular sentence and say that, okay, look at this later, or connect this to section 3.2, or make a note as a comment using the comment option in the Word document. Once you have reached the end of the document, you need to craft the conclusion. The conclusion has to be a simple conclusion, which anyone in the audience can understand very clearly, but it has to be very specific so that it is actionable. It should review only the main points that have already been discussed in the document. Nothing new should come in the conclusion section. Nothing, not even a single new fact should come in there. You should be able to convey to the audience that, okay, this I have explained. Now, on the basis of this, what action you need to take. Now, what you need to do. That's the part of the conclusion. And in any document, introduction is the first section. But while writing, introduction is actually the last section to be drafted. Always keep in mind, introduction is always the last section to be drafted, and introduction should have this. Introduction should have outline of the document. What does this document talk about? And it should have briefly some facts from the analysis phase, but not the details, right? It should not have all the details. Second, introduction should be should be basically capturing the highlights of the document. Okay, so that's where we need to focus. That we will discuss again what are the introduction, what are the things that we need to worry about while writing introduction. So while doing this, what we have discussed till now is, while crafting, put the sentence, the purpose statement first, put the broad sections. Under the sections, dump the document, dump the relevant facts. If there is any confusion, or if there is any thoughts that you have, highlight them or comment, add and comment. Do not stop. In the end, write conclusion. When you're writing conclusion, ensure that the conclusion is simple and to the point, and it has an action item, so that audience knows that okay, what they need to do after reading this document. And in the end, come to the introduction section, which should contain the relevant information about the document, relevant facts about the document, structure about the document, and we will talk about that in a bit also. Best practices. In terms of best practices, use simple sentences. Do not use unnecessarily long sentences. It will allow you to write with clarity and concision. All paragraphs should be ideally not more than 3 to 5 sentences long, and each paragraph should focus on only on a single point. So each paragraph represent a theme, and that theme gets covered, you change the paragraph. So don't worry about having too many paragraphs, worry about having long paragraphs. That's a big no. Okay, next, do not add any unsubstantiated claims. References are a must. Provide data, provide appendices wherever required. Do not make any unsubstantiated loose claims. Jargon, whether to use jargons or not use the jargons, depends on the audience for whom you are writing. As I explained in the example earlier, if I'm writing for a journal audience where the readers are experts in the domain, I can easily use the technical terms. But if I'm writing for newspaper where anyone can read it, then I would want to simplify it a lot as compared to a journal article. If possible, you can shorten your writing by replacing the whole narrative thing into bullet points. At some places, it does make sense to have more bullet points as compared to long paragraphs. And use tables, figures, charts whenever possible. As they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. You can capture a lot of information through these graphs or tables, and avoid using long sentences to explain that. These things can be self-explanatory. Okay, so now look at this sentence. This is a single sentence. The availability of safe drinking water is getting low over a period of time due to overpopulation, overconsumption, water pollution, blah, 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 and as well as the poor underdeveloped countries around the world. So this is a long sentence with 62 words. It can easily be broken down into at least 3 sentences. Try doing that. And this is just one example that I've picked from one of my students' assignments. I've come across paragraphs which run into like 1.5 page long paragraphs. It's not uncommon to find these long paragraphs and long sentences. These bring these make things the writing convoluted. Our purpose is opposite, to make our writing very precise, very crisp. When we are talking about writing the conclusion should have only and only 2 parts. The first part should be whatever we have talked about in the document, a review of that. That's the simple thing that we write. And second, on the basis of what we have discussed, what are the action items? What are the in terms of business writing? What are the things that we need to do? The audience needs to do. These are the things. These are the facts. These are the. This is the context. We have explained everything. Now, what should the audience of this document should do? And there should be a wrap-up statement. So the conclusion section should only have these 2 parts. In the end, we come to introduction. As I said earlier, we will come to the introduction in the end. Although the reader will read the introduction first, the writer will write the introduction last. The first sentence of an introduction should ideally be the purpose statement that you have handwritten, that okay, this is the purpose of the document, so that the audience knows at the outset that okay, this is what this you can expect from this document. The only exception will be when this document is to convey some bad news, where you will actually start with the purpose of the document will come towards the end. You will start with background information, set the context, tell why certain decisions had to be taken, and then tell what decisions have been taken, what are the criteria to be on which these decisions have been taken, and only then you come that why these decisions, what is the decision that has been taken, and the justification for this decision. So as opposed to this, in all other cases, the first sentence has to be a purpose statement of the document, why the author is the audience is reading this document, or what can the audience expect from reading this document. The introduction should preview the main points of the document, actual you can have a point by point summary or a summary preview. Now, what exactly is this? You can look on the internet. So point by point is you go chronologically. Summary preview is basically a 3,000 word document. You're trying to summarize it in say 300 words. That's the summary preview, and that's the purpose of the introduction section. And when we are talking about the main points, it is not facts. It is not the facts. Uh, the document, just look at the example that I've written here. This document alerts our employees of some important changes in the 2020 tax laws. You will learn about the new requirements for claiming expenses and the changes in the documentation norms. Now the audience will know that, okay, after reading this, we will know one, this is about the changes in the tax laws, and what is the impact on the audience, which primarily I think is the employees of the company, and someone is trying to explain these differences or these changes to them, right? Or the relevant facts. So ideally introduction should not be more than 10% of the whole body of the document. Finally, you can provide some additional context only and only if it is required. Say when you're saying that we have done a survey and the survey results are showing blah 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 blah, and then you can say that, okay, in terms of context, we have done this survey with 500 employees. If this company has 5 lakh employees or 50,000 employees, 500, is it a reasonable sample? Or and secondly, several of the employees of the company would have been part of this research project. Maybe this is just an initial report. So all that additional contextual information, if it is required, then provide it. Otherwise, it is not required. Okay, that's the end of the crafting stage. In the next video, we will talk about the editing part, the last of the 3-stage process: analyze, craft, edit, ace process.